But the match itself, I mean, De Bruyne set up a goal for Jesus. I thought Shane Dunphy could have done better for the goal, but 1-0 up after 4 minutes. Nothing much happened after that.
No, I thought it was a poor performance by City. I mean, of course, they won. Brighton did have a couple of chances, actually. I know Liam says from set pieces. But there was times there, if I was a Manchester City supporter, I'd be worried.
Yeah.
I thought it was a poor performance from Manchester City. And they're on the run in now, as we know, at Liverpool. They've got to change what they're doing. I mean, the idea of scoring one in the first 4 minutes is great. But then it's sit back and we're going to keep possession, which at times is okay. But I think there should be more of a go in them to do what's needed to be done. Now they won, and when we say, well, the result is everything. Of course it is, but I think if they get in the habit of doing what they're doing, they've done it in recent weeks.
Yes,
and they Fulham, they did it. One of the other clubs, they did it.
Cardiff, they played Fulham and Cardiff in the week. Fulham, they came out of traps like a shot.
Yes,
2 goals the first 20 minutes, well on top. It was very, very impressive. It was their first match after the international break, and after 20 minutes, job done. Then they sort of just played keep ball.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's right. I think you can keep ball in a better way than that, and still look to score more goals without killing yourself. Now, I did say last week, and I made a case for them, looking back, to say, well, there are a lot of matches to play, so they're not taking much out of themselves, which is true. But it becomes a habit, and habits in football are very, very difficult to break. And I don't think you can suddenly switch it on when you come and play the better teams to do what's needed to be done. I agree with keeping possession of the ball. There was times yesterday, most of the time, 90% of the time, when there was a 50-50 chance of going forward or going back, they went back.
Yep.
And there's nothing better than scoring a few goals, and obviously then you can relax and do it. But I don't think it's a good habit to be in from Manchester City's point of view. When they come to the better teams, it's very hard to pick it up in that. I like Manchester City. I like what Guardiola does most of the time. I don't like what he's doing in this particular way at this particular time.
Liam, they've played 3 of the weaker teams in the Premier League in the last 9 days. Fulham away, game over after 20 minutes. Cardiff at home, game over really after 10 minutes. They scored early and then just knocked the ball around. And Brighton, game over after 4 minutes, really.
Well, I don't think that was it. I
don't
think it was game over with Brighton. To be honest, I don't think it was game over.
No, but in their minds, I think.
Oh well, that there shouldn't be. But if we're looking at it from the outside, I thought I was really, if I was a real Manchester City supporter in the second half, I would be very anxious in the way that they're playing.
John, would you agree? The only danger to Man City, I think, in the run in is just what you're describing there. Some complacency in the game. Yeah. Some of the players thinking, as Eamon said, we get a goal, well, that's it, done. And you can very easily trip over, if that's the attitude. And I think is that what you're meaning?
The question.
The
question I wanted to ask you, Liam. Sorry, John.
Sorry, like if you look at a match on Saturday and they scored after 4 minutes. Keep possession. It's a long time to be keeping possession. The best way to finish the game is to get the goals. But in the second half, when they were doing what they were doing, Brighton did come into the game. And there was one incident in particular, and as you say, from a set piece, where they were lucky to get away, very, very lucky to get away with it. And that's Brighton, who are not a great team. So you get into that habit, Liam. Like you can keep the pace going in a certain way. You don't have to be killing yourself to score the goals. But it's extra taking it easy, if that's the right words.
Yeah. Well, I would agree. I think Liverpool, for that reason, still, is still in my mind, can win this Premiership because I think there is a bit of complacency about Man City.
Yeah, and the point I suppose that we're both making, Liam, and we've seen a lot of it, is now they move into Champions League. They got Tottenham tomorrow night, Tuesday. They got big games to come. 3 times they've got to play Tottenham, once in the Premier League, and after that they've got to play Manchester United. And the question is this, and you know it because you've played both in Italy for Juventus and for Arsenal in a really top Arsenal team. Can you flick a switch? That's the point, John. Or can you get into a habit when you flick the switch and nothing happens.
Well, that's been their problem this year. If you look at the games they've lost, Eamon, I think they lost at home to Crystal Palace, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that's the only way you lose those games when you have the talent that Man City have is that the attitude is not being right on the day,
Yeah.
And I think there is that question mark. So they've got some really big games coming up, as you say, and okay, they've won the League Cup, they're in the final of the FA Cup, but they're not the trophies that they want, Eamon. The trophies they want are the Premiership and absolutely the Champions League.
Yep. Yeah,
it's definitely a habit. Sorry, just to go back on it.
Yeah.
Like it's like training. You see the lads in training, and the top managers insist every time you train, you're giving it everything because you're training the way you're going to play.
Yeah.
And football is a game of habit. Yeah. There's no doubt about it, because if you're on it and you're really going all the time in training, you can't go one day, we'll take it easy day, and not easy. That's the way it is. It's human nature. You have to have your mind on. You have to be ready to go. And in Manchester City's case, it doesn't take that much. It's just a difference between getting on the ball. There's a forward pass. No, we play it back. There's no need for it. It's a habit to get into. Score more goals.
But another point, the point that Liam made also strikes me, admittedly with a slight Liverpool bias. I think hard games are good for you. I think those games where you've got to dig it out, as Liverpool had to at Southampton on Friday night, it's good. It's good to be playing games like that rather than... Now, I have to say, and to both you, John, and Liam, Guardiola would say, listen, guys, we've won 22 of our last 23 games. But I think they've had a lot of easy games, good draw in the Champions League. Yeah. But the point is, the hard games, and this is the point Liam is making, can be better for you. Now, you and Liam have been in title-winning teams. The hard games can be good for you.
Well, the hard games are hard as you make them, right? Obviously, when you're playing the better teams, they're going to be harder to do. So in Liverpool's case at the moment, Liverpool don't know any other way to play. They don't know how to slow it down, which can be a good thing sometimes, a very good thing sometimes, or it can be a poor thing, depending on how the game goes. But any game you play, on paper, you're playing against Cardiff. You put the same effort in against Cardiff as you do against Arsenal or any of the teams that's considered to be the top teams. That's what makes the team.
And City aren't doing that.
They're not doing that. No. They're not doing that at the moment, Eamon. And that's why I find it's difficult. You say it's a game of habit, which it is. Then to suddenly pick it up against when it comes to like the Champions League next week. I think you should be doing it week in, week out, week in, week out. Habit is habit.
Yeah.
Whether it's a good habit or a bad habit. Habits are habits. And football, all the managers insisted. I know, again, I go back to these Don Reevy. We didn't train for long, when we played we got so many matches. But you had to go when you did train. Because you can't, there's an old saying in football, you can't mess about all week in training and then switch it on the Saturday. It's impossible to do. And I don't think Manchester City are messing about, but they're in a bad habit in these matches. And I think it's going to be, it can be critical to them or crucial to them when they come to the bigger teams. I don't agree with what they're doing in these particular matches.
Just a point, Liam, that you might be surprised at. I was watching the game against Cardiff and I switched it off. It was I was bored.
Yeah.
Can you get that? Yeah.
Well, that it's a foregone conclusion, Eamon, and especially if City are playing this kind of casual sort of way and just keeping the ball for the sake of keeping it, and not, as John says, trying to score goals. Yeah, it can become a boring watch. Yeah. There's hardly any weaknesses in the team. Maybe a little bit defensively. There's still a one or two question marks, but. If they are to lose the league this year, Eamon, it'll be down to what we've talked about: complacency, overconfidence, thinking that the job is done when it's not.
Right, and I mean, as a judge, it'd be hard to call, but it's 50-50, I think. Maybe. Well,
Liverpool had a hard game on Friday night, didn't they? It was they didn't start well. Took them a long time to get into it, but. They ground it out, Eamon, didn't they? And something that I was watching on telly You know, there was a tackle on the edge of the box. It was 1-1, and Liverpool obviously had to win this game. You know, you couldn't afford to drop points to Southampton. There was a tackle leading up to Salah's goal. There was a tackle on the edge of the box. And who won it? But it was Mane. And he went into a 50-50 with one of the Southampton defenders. And he went in full-blooded intent to win that ball.
Yes.
And the ball broke. The ball broke to a Liverpool player. And with one pass, Salah was away, you know?
Yes, it was a header from Henderson, actually. Yeah.
If Mane... Yeah. No. It was the Salah goal when they broke away.
Right.
They broke away and scored. It was a counter-attack, I think. Southampton had a corner kick. But it was a great tackle by Mane, and it demonstrated to me that these Liverpool lads really, really want it.
Yes,
you know?
Yes. Absolutely.
I was at Goodison yesterday. I watched Arsenal, and it was the total opposite. You know, we had players pulling out of tackles and things like that, and Everton were first to the ball. They wanted it much, much more than Arsenal. But I go back to the title race. I think Man City want it, and I still fancy them to win it. Although if Man City win all the games, they win the title.
Right. Okay.
Did you mean Liverpool there, Liam?
I fancy Liverpool. I fancy Liverpool
you said Manchester
to win,
City.
John,
sorry.
because So, but if Man City win all the games, John, they win the title. Nobody can stop them, but they have to win them all.
They have to win them all.
And they've got some tough games to come. They got to go to Old Trafford, which naturally, local derby will be a difficult game, and they've got to play Tottenham also at home.